Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash
And Becky.
Just us! Yay! We haven't done one of these for a while, have we?
I've missed you.
I've missed you. And we love having our guests on, we really do, but it's nice to have this back. So just to let you guys know, we've been having lots of guest episodes and we've been speaking to lots of guests, but we don't want you to worry. Our old structure of just us two is still going to be here. So we thought what we'd do is we'd pepper in our episodes in between our guest episodes. Yeah. So you'll get a bit of both and we get to have new people coming in, new information, but then we get to have the same old chats of me and you. But we'd love to hear like what you think of the guest episodes, whether you prefer the guest episodes or just us, or would you prefer to have more of us, less of the guests? Let us know. Come into our Facebook group, our Be Your Best You Facebook group. You can find the link in the show notes and tell us.
Yes, please.
Becky, I'm going to pass it over to you today now.
Oh, today we're going to talk about masking, aren't we, Tash?
We are?
Yes. Now, I didn't even really know what masking was until a couple of years ago when I discovered that Harry, my son, had been masking his whole life. Who knew? And it's a whole journey, isn't it? And then I guess I'm sure a lot of people are the same when you find out you've got a child who's like got ADHD or autism or whatever and they're masking. You start to figure out, oh, hang on a minute, that sounds like me. And, am I a masker? Because, like, you don't even know necessarily that you're doing it, do you?
No. And I think before you dive into that then, can you just tell people, if they don't know, what is masking?
Yeah, well, masking is being someone who you are not really, you know, and sometimes I think you're conscious of it. Sometimes you're not aware that you're doing it at all. And you actually, because you're trying to fit in with society, you put on this mask of, I guess you are just trying to fit in, like I said.
So it's like who you think you should be.
Who you should be, what's acceptable. And yeah, I think sometimes you're aware that you're doing it, but other times, because this is from like a very young age that you start realizing that you have to survive and fit in, you then obviously lose sight of who you actually are. And it just becomes your second nature to be this other version of yourself. And you don't actually know who you are.
Ain't that the problem?
Wow. That's huge. And I think I've probably been doing it, and I actually had no idea that I was doing it until looking into it with Harry and seeing it destroy him, basically, because he did get depression because of it, because he couldn't sustain it. He couldn't keep up with the pretense and the pressure of trying to fit in when he couldn't, you know. Like, how does that look? Well, I guess he was detached from himself and trying to be a certain way. Harry, I suppose it depends on your personality, doesn't it? Harry wanted to be cool. So that was Harry's mask, because actually probably Harry isn't very cool at all because he's got autism. Not saying you're not cool, because I think the autisms are very, very cool, but his perception of cool. So these little obsessions that he had, playing guitar, drawing, Spider-Man, like little things like that, or they're not cool anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I will withdraw from all those things that make me who I am,
that bring
and that
me joy.
I truly love doing,
Mm.
and shut it down because of how I want to be perceived. So I suppose it's different for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I suppose what I was doing from a young age was probably just I stopped talking. So then I would be labelled as shy, and no sort of like self-confidence was a word I heard a lot, like not much self-confidence. But that's how I was fitting in. Because I didn't have to be anybody then, did I? I could just be quiet.
When you're living up to what you think who people think you are.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing as a child, oh, Becky's shy, Becky's not got much self-confidence, that's a program right there. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I'm shy. I don't have any self-confidence. So I need to fit that mold. I need to be quiet and not be who I am. Because actually I want to go, I'm Becky, look at me. But that's not what Becky does.
No. And actually you would get positive feedback, talking from my experience of masking, I would get positive feedback from putting this mask on of, oh, she's so good, we didn't even know she was there. Oh, that's because I'm quiet. So everybody likes me. Oh, she was such a good girl, no trouble at all. Oh yeah, that's because I'm quiet and I'm shy. So everything was like just like confirming that is the way to be.
Yeah.
And probably that isn't who I should have been at all. Obviously I was who I was. I wasn't like Harry. I wasn't so far removed from myself where, I've got depression and things like that. But just like little learning things about Harry's journey just makes you go back to your own and think, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, that's what I was. I have elements of that, doing that. So, it can be a real problem, can't it? Like,
yeah,
I was fine, but obviously I watched Harry burn out because of it, because of the pressure of masking. And I just think so many people are actually doing it and they're not aware that they're doing it.
And I was going to say this actually, because I know, like, obviously masking has become a bit of a buzzword, and along with the whole ADHD and autism thing, hasn't it? And I know that masking is linked, the term masking I think is linked to autism mostly, and a bit of ADHD. But from, again, and we've spoken about this before on the show, I have a slightly different perspective of ADHD and autism, and that's a whole nother conversation which you can listen to in another podcast. But I see things from a bit more of a bigger picture. And honestly, when you're talking, we all are masking. I think that generally is the biggest problem with society right now. We are masking, and i.e. we are not being our authentic selves. None of us are being our not none of us, there's probably most of us, say from a few people that have kind of, I don't know, done lots and lots of work. I don't know who those people are. I'd like to meet them. I'd like to see who they are, but they're probably keeping themselves very quiet. They're not involved with all of this. But anyway, most of us are masking, which means we are not being our authentic selves. And the reason that we've come here, I believe, from my kind of bigger perspective of IC, of working with the subconscious, working with past lives and the spiritual kind of side of things that I work with, is I think that's why we've come down to earth. We've come down to learn our lessons, but more and more I think we have come here to learn who we truly are, which are these great, powerful, creator beings. But because of the programming of childhood, with what I work with on a daily basis, this programming that we receive from society, from our parents, from caregivers, teachers, other children, all sorts, is making us put on this mask. That is forming this mask that we put on. So I don't think that it is just related to people who have autism or ADHD. I think it's related to human beings. I think it's part of the human condition.
Yeah, that's so true.
And my work that I do is to help people pull off that mask and get back to their authentic self. Because why do we want to be our authentic self? Well, as you've seen, when you're not your authentic self, you go into depression.
Yeah.
You have anxiety.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you belong. You know, all of those things, burnout, like we cannot sustain anymore. And I think it's getting more and more. I don't know what's going on, but more and more, I think. And again, this younger generation that are coming in, they are not physically, mentally, spiritually able to hold that mask anymore.
Yeah.
And because they can't do it, they are then forcing what's happened to you. They're forcing us older generations to look at ourselves and think, oh my God, we've got that mask on too, which is what happened to you. Honestly, which is why you wanted to talk about this, really, because it's actually been a real awakening for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like with my two kids, they sent every anxiety that I probably had quietly, secretly, and just rolled them up into two little balls and sent them down to me as children to address, because it's the only way I was going to even notice.
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting. And like you, so do you think that's why it is, Tash, like a bit of the energetics and the new souls coming in? Because it's like, how were we, like our generation, all able to do what the kids are doing now?
Yeah.
But we were able to come through it. Like, what is it that's stopping, creating the burnout and things like that? And like you said, like the ADHD is getting thrown around, and because they're having to label them in some way, because
it's more prevalent, isn't it?
So that would make sense, wouldn't it? Like all these energetics and the new soul beings coming down to help raise the frequency of the planet. And like we all know, the highest frequency is authenticity.
It's not love, it's authenticity.
Not love. And I tell you, like, especially Nicole, my daughter, I would say, has really, well, you primarily, but being around Nicole, because she's like on the autism spectrum and she's at home now, her mask is well and truly off because she doesn't have to go to school. And she's pulled mine off as well. And I feel like for the first time, like I'm just being me. I'm not pretending to be anything else. Obviously there's times where, like, she's like, Mum, put your mask back on. We're in public. So yeah, you've got to like adapt a little bit, haven't you? But it's like so freeing, like when you can just be who you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's that freeing right there. I think that is the word that sums it all up. Like authenticity, the word is, banged around, and again, until you stop and actually think about the word and think about what that means, like you have to make it mean something. And authenticity is the key to everything. It truly is. I see that now. And it's not easy to be authentic, and when we think we are being authentic, we're still not being authentic, because this is where there's just so many layers.
I thought I was authentic,
and
then I realised, hang on a minute,
no,
there's this whole mask that you put on. That's not who you.
And listen, it takes energy, because again, everything is energy. We're energy beings. When you can, I know I say this over and over again, but I will continue to say this over and over again. When you can see yourself as an energetic being first and foremost, it makes a lot of this work a lot more easy to understand and actually do something about. So you're thinking about yourself, and you're in energy, and everything is energy. Thoughts are energy, emotions are energy, everything is energy. That's like the currency here, right? So when you're putting up a mask, that takes so much energy from you, so much energy. And when you're putting all your energy into upholding this mask, it means you've got no energy free for the things that actually you need to do, you want to do, like the things that bring you joy. And also, actually, energy is unlimited. We have a connection to a constant supply of energy. But when you put your mask on, it's almost like, I see it like you're cutting off that stream of energy. You're tapping it. You're putting like a peg over the pipe kind of thing. And so then you're giving energy out, but you're not allowing that energy to come in and be received. Hence, you end up in burnout. with depression, with anxiety, with all these feelings, because that energy is being stifled, but you're giving it and giving it to uphold this mask. And when we say a mask, like, that can be anything, you know, like,
it's different for everybody.
It's different for everyone, but this is where all of the fear of judgments come in. You know, I can't say that because that's going to upset someone, or I can't do that because then I'll be unsafe and I'll lose something. This is where all these limiting beliefs come in. When you're working on the limiting beliefs, when you're working on your childhood trauma and the programming that's caused, you're effectively taking, you know, that peeling that mask off. And every time you do that, every time you remove one of those, you know, limiting beliefs, that fear of judgment, every time you remove a piece of that mask, you are allowing yourself access to more energy, and also you're giving away less energy, which is why then you start feeling kind of happier, more carefree. You have mental, like, clarity and headspace. That's why then you become more productive, because everything is energy, and you putting up that mask is zapping you.
And I see that with my two kids, the example of them, you know, they've got similar mental health conditions, if you like, but Nick has removed her mask and Harry's is still on, and it's like that. Nick has self-acceptance. She accepts who she is, she knows what she likes, she knows what she doesn't like, and she's happy with that. Harry cannot take the mask off and cannot get to self-acceptance, which is why, though he is, I wouldn't say he's depressed now, but he's still struggling. I can see that. So, like, say, low mood, I guess you would call it. But, you know, he is a teenage boy as well, isn't he? So it's hard. But I can see the difference self-acceptance makes between two people with the same issues, same family, same house, very different reactions. And, you know, Nick is healthy and happy, you know, doing what she's doing, and Harry still can't let go of what he thinks he should be, which hopefully, you know, we'll get there. But I can see how important that is if you can 100%. Just accept.
I mean, they come hand in hand, don't they? Because if you have self-acceptance, if you accept yourself for who you are, of course you're then going to be able to be authentic.
And kinder to yourself.
Yes,
because you understand yourself. It's okay. It's okay that I'm like this. Whereas Harry hates himself for being this way. So he's there thinking, so Nick's like, you know, oh, well, this is who I am, you know, and it's okay. I love myself and I'll try better next time. Whereas, say, if Harry can't get out of the car for an appointment because of anxiety, I know, even though he's not telling me, I know then he despises himself because I can feel it. He hates himself after that and for the weeks.
And you go in a shame spiral, and it just makes it worse and worse. And this is why, again, self-love is so important. And it's not self-love like, oh yeah, you know, like, I'm gonna dress in this way because I just love, that's all part of it. But the real self-love, you know, taking yourself to a spa, you know, getting your nails done, whatever, like, yes, that's all important, but the real self-love is being to yourself who you would be for your best friend. It's the most important. If, like, that is what we all have to remember. When you start beating up on yourself and punishing yourself and going into that shame cycle, ask yourself, catch yourself and ask yourself, would I say this to my best friend?
That's so,
you'd be horrified.
That's such a good one. And I've said that to Nicole because I can talk to her easier. And I've said, you know, would you say that to your best friend if she came to you with this problem?
Would you say it to your worst enemy? Oftentimes, no.
And yet we're willing, aren't we, to say it to ourselves, all these awful things. It's okay.
It's all okay. We're all doing our best. I wish, and, you know, again, I haven't nailed this. This is like a lot of the work that I'm constantly doing, is this being kinder to myself, you know. But if we could sprinkle, if someone could sprinkle just the ability to say, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
You're doing your best. Yeah. Even when it seems like you're making mistake after mistake and you're doing bad things. I'm doing inverted commas for people who aren't watching. You're doing bad things. You're still doing your best.
Yeah.
You're still inherently good.
Yes.
And if we could all have that understanding, so many of our problems would melt away.
Yeah.
If I can say anything to people, like, you know, to take from this episode, it is be your best friend.
Yeah.
You can be your best friend.
Yeah.
You can, and model that on the behavior that you do give to your best friend or a good friend or a family member, you know, whoever you're close to.
Yeah.
You have to, it's okay to do that for yourself. Give yourself permission to let yourself off the hook. Nothing good comes from you punishing yourself and giving yourself a hard time.
No.
Nothing. And, you know, for our logical brain, our ego, it feels like that's what we have to do to make ourselves change. That's why we're doing it, isn't it? Well, if I beat myself up, if I tell myself off, maybe I won't do it next time.
Yeah.
But newsflash, that doesn't work. No. It actually only puts you further into a shame spiral, and more problems come from that, and the programming gets deeper and deeper. If you can say to yourself every single time, you're doing good, girl.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
It's okay. Don't worry. Try better next time. Yeah. And if you don't do it better next time, that's okay too.
Yeah.
You're still good. I still got you.
Yeah.
I still love you.
Exactly. I always found it quite a bit easier when we came across the word intention, you know, and how you can sort of like release a lot of the burden of things if you can say to yourself, well, my intentions are always good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all that matters, isn't it? And then you're able to forgive yourself for anything that you maybe you know, any behaviours or things you might have said that day, because your intention is always if your intention is to always come from love, obviously, then that if nothing else matters at the end of the day. You can say, you know, well, start each day with leading with love, and then anything else can drop away. Whereas I just found that like really helpful, focusing on the intention side of it, because you can't control anything else. You can't control people's reactions to you, or, you know, maybe how you've handled a situation has maybe been a bit out of your control. But if you know that you're always coming with the best intentions, you can be kinder to yourself, can't you? And forgive yourself for anything, and just, you can really let go of it, instead of, because what a lot of like maskers do, and they're usually overthinkers, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they replay the whole day in their heads, you know, from the simplest thing of, you know, oh, you know, I didn't say thank you to the lady when she gave me my change. Oh, what must she think of me? Just these tiny, you know, that's not good, is it, for your mental health?
No, it's not. And I think another good, you know, like the best friend analogy, and then there's another analogy for those of you who have children. You know, when you think about your children when they were young, you know, babies, and they're learning. I mean, and they're always learning. We're always learning. We're still that. But when they're babies and they make a mistake, let's say they go to touch a hot fire, would you even dream of going, oh, for God's sake, you're so stupid. Why would you do that? How would it? No, of course not. You say, no, we don't do that. That's hot. Don't touch, burns.
Yeah.
The baby might try and do it again. Yeah. Would you then scream and go, oh, you idiot. Yeah. I've told you that burns. Why you do it? No, we don't touch that. Ouch, that hurts.
Yeah.
You're, for the most part, okay, we're not patient all the time with our kids. I understand that. But you wouldn't dream of berating and shaming a child when they're learning if they do something wrong. Exactly. And also, again, if your child did touch that fire and they did burn themselves, you best believe they're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Because they will learn from their mistakes. So yes, it's awful because they've touched the fire and they've burnt themselves, but they've learned a very valuable lesson. They won't do it again.
Yeah.
And this is how we have to see ourselves. We have come here. It doesn't matter if we're old and we're adults and we grow up. We're always still learning. Yeah. We've come here to learn. And to learn, you make mistakes. It's part of the process, and it's a really good part of the process. You learn the best, most valuable lessons from your mistakes. We've said this before. You learn when everything's going well and everything's going good and it's smooth, you're not learning so much because you're just rolling along, and it's lovely and it's great, but you're rolling along. There's nothing to teach you. When you start making mistakes, you're like, right, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And again, unfortunately, programming has made us believe that to make a mistake is bad and we must avoid at all costs. But actually, no, embrace the mistakes, embrace the learning. Something I've had to lean into.
With the kids as well, isn't it? It's like celebrating a mistake almost. Well, that's great, you've made that mistake. So now you know. You know, and I heard someone, this is a little bit off topic, but someone said the other day, you know, don't ever expect to be good at something unless you're prepared to be bad at it first. So it's a little bit related to, you know, you have to get anywhere in life. You have to be prepared to be bad at something, make mistakes, or you're never going to be the best at that.
Exactly. And, you know, we accept it. So say if we're learning a musical instrument or a new skill, a sport or something, you know, we accept, don't we, that you're not gonna fly in there and be the best basketball player ever when you've just picked up a ball. Or you're not going to be the strongest you've ever been when you just go into the gym and pick up a weight, or you're not going to be able to play a trumpet brilliantly and become Mozart on the piano straight away. We know and we accept that we have to practice. It takes time. And we will make mistakes, you know, we'll make those bum notes, we'll miss the basket. Like, that's acceptable. So why can we then not accept that in ourselves? It's no different. And this is how we have to look at it. This is how we have to start programming. No one else is going to do it for you, unfortunately. We have to do it ourselves. And it gets tough because now we're doing that against what society is telling us and what everything around us is telling us. Your work begins when you say, right, okay, I am going to be kind to myself. I am going to let myself off the hook when I make mistakes, when I eat that cookie, when I told myself I wasn't going to eat that cookie, you know, or when I fell into that same old behavior in my toxic relationship that I did again. It's all okay. And we're going to forgive myself every single time I do it. And that is going to be hard because you're going against everything that you've been programmed, everything that your ego is trying to tell you not to do. But that is what we have to do in order to make the change. The change comes from love, from loving ourselves. And that's the lesson there, I think.
And this is where it's hard, isn't it? Because like you've said before, you know, your main programming is between, you know, 0 and 7, isn't it? And with these, you know, new old souls coming in, you know, it's very difficult to save them from the masking because it's sort of out of your hands, isn't it? When they go to school, you know, they're literally doing it just to fit in, and they're like mirroring people's behavior, aren't they, to be acceptable. And, you know, if only, you know, if there's teachers out there listening, you know, if we could just recognise each children, like we said, I know we're all doing it, but I think some kids are doing it more than others, where it becomes an actual problem, and it stops you from being able to do things, and, you know, your self-worth is, you know, 0. If we could get them as babies and really nurture them, that would be amazing. Obviously we can do what we can do at home. Like, I didn't know any of this when my 2 were between 0 and 7, and probably I could have made a bigger difference, you know, from just home life. But I wonder also, you know, that if I hadn't had children, would I go my whole life without even realizing that I had a mask on? I just, you know, say, you know, there might be some people out there listening that might think, like, how do you look into yourself to see if you are also masking? Because it took me to have to go through all like the ADHD masking information and autism masking, learning about the kids and watching my kids do it, and what that is, for me to wake up. Like, it took me ages. I'm doing all that. I have no idea. I'm thinking, well, I'm, you know, I don't know anything about this. I'm just normal. And then it's like, oh my God, no, you are that. Like, I could have gone my whole life and not been authentic, you know?
Yeah.
And know nothing about it. Like, so how would you like, so that hit me in the face. Obviously, they put it in my children. They knew I'd pay attention if they gave it to me that way. How would you have said to me before then, like, for me to dig into myself to see that I'm masking?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I think, honestly, I think that it is something that you have to have something that you would want to work on that you didn't like. And then when you start digging into that, it's like you start realizing it all, because like I said, we're all masking. Yes, I agree with you. You know, if you've got children with autism or ADHD, it's potentially going to be more noticeable and they're going to have more issues in terms of anxiety, self-esteem, etc. But we are all masking to a certain point.
Yes.
So for you, your kids did identify that for you so clearly. I remember the day you said that. But you know, if you don't have children that are doing it, any way you start digging into yourself through any kind of avenue, you will then start realizing, oh my gosh, you know, I'm not actually being myself there. And I think for me, like, because when you were talking, it made me think, you know, it's this whole people pleasing, good girl, I'll be, you know, fit in, like you started off talking about. This programming for us, for our generation, is very much responsible for a lot of masking. When you start digging into the whole people pleasing, I'm not speaking up for myself, that like I'm putting everybody else before myself, you're going to start realizing that you're masking potentially. And so that's where I think you probably would have, if you'd have dug into one of those behaviors,
very true,
you would have come up with the fact like, I'm doing that. Everything leads. I love this work because everything leads to, you know, these very, very few root causes. So you have, it's like, you know, you have the seed and then from that seed all these roots and stuff and like grow, but you follow them all down and they'll all lead to that one seed at one point. And I just think for people listening, in terms of the whole masking thing, you want to have a look at if you're doing the whole people pleasing thing, you know, and also speaking up for yourself, like not expressing your feelings, not expressing your emotions. That's all going to be keeping up that mask. And once you start speaking up for yourself, once you start putting yourself first, that's when you'll start seeing, oh, I started behaving that way, you know, and that's not me. Actually, like I keep my mouth shut and I don't say anything. When people say something and I disagree with it, I just keep my mouth shut. But actually, I have lots of opinions. I want to speak and I have some, like, you know, emotions behind them. You found that, didn't you? Like once you realised that, you realised you had a lot to say.
To
and you
release.
Had
that I'd been like suppressing. I told myself that, well, you don't want to talk, so don't worry about it. Or just, you know, you talk to yourself in your head, I suppose. When you're quiet, you're in your own little world because you have to create something for yourself. And it's like when Tash and I first met, and I'd only sort of like just got onto Facebook, hadn't I?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't even press the like button. Can you imagine? And it's like, and now I say to myself, if I read something, obviously again, intention, you know, I'm not a troll, but if I see something and I feel like I want to say it, I will now not just like it or whatever, I will write a comment. Like we said, like, even like, you know, if it's just to show love, like, oh, I love this, you know, well done or whatever. Say it, write it. Okay, I'm not saying it, I'm writing it. But that honestly has all been part of my training, if you like, to learn that I need to release in some way. So if I've got something to say, write it down.
And this is how you become authentic, right?
Yeah.
Because before, when you weren't saying anything, you were suppressing who you are. You were suppressing your authentic self. Now when you're saying something, it's not about, you know, being vocal and expressing, you know, I disagree with that.
That's right.
You're actually allowing your authentic self to come through, because whatever you do in that moment, however you express yourself, you are sharing what you came here to share.
If you feel passionate about it, say it.
So you, like you said, you were coming from love. You are being that loving being who you are, truly who you are. And that could really make somebody's day. That could change their day. If you're speaking up for something and it's more of a, like, I disagree with you, you know, kind of thing, you might be teaching that person a lesson. You might be opening them up to seeing a different view because you're being authentic. And when you're authentic, and I think this is really important, when you're truly authentic, you will always be coming from your highest perspective. You'll always be coming from love and from good. And I think that, you know, really the most important thing, the reason why we all want to be authentic, if we can just take it like to like real bigger picture, because I really always like to see this bigger picture. Just imagine for a moment if everybody on this planet has come in with particular gifts, skills and abilities, and they're all good, because remember, as souls, we are just pure love. We are just pure like goodness and greatness. And we all have our specific abilities and skills that we've come down here for. If we are all living as our truly authentic selves, imagine what the world could be like. Everybody is expressing their like true potential, and everybody is going to, not only are you going to live a life of like fulfillment, peace, happiness, enter all the like the nice emotions here, but you are also going to be able to share that with other people. So we are all going to benefit from other people being their true authentic selves as well. And that's what really excites me. Like, that's what I see as the bigger picture.
Definitely.
We all
and
like
the shift.
That shift, that massive shift. So like, you know, if you have children now, if you don't have children and you have just, this episode has made you think, oh, am I masking? And you start like digging into it. Like, all I can say is, if you know, if you've got children, or if you haven't, and you just say it to yourself, like, always question how am I trying to fit in? Like, what am I doing? It's much easier when you've got children, actually, because if you think about when you've got children going to school and you're like, shh, don't do that, quickly get into class. You know, I'm trying to think, that's a really poor example, but do you know what I mean? Like, you want your children to fit in. Question how you are trying to make your own children fit into a mold because of your conditioning. And then, you know, right there, you are stifling their authenticity. You're also stifling your own authenticity. But I think this is what we have to start doing. We have to start questioning in order to be able to take that mask off and be able to be our true authentic selves. We have to question everything, which is uncomfortable, and it's difficult sometimes because the stuff that's so programmed within us, we can't see there being another way. It just is for us, but actually nothing just is. Question everything. Do I want to do that? Do I agree with that? Just because everybody says, you know, we have to do this, does it mean I have to? No, I don't want to. Then you start being your authentic self. And it's not about, and I really want to make this clear, it's not about going out and causing trouble and being antagonistic and being like, well, I'm, you know, F the system, I'm not doing that. That's coming from the wrong place. You've just got to come from a place of, you know, how is this stopping me from being my true self? What energy am I putting into this to behave this way so that I fit in with the crowd, or I fit in with the rules, or I fit in with society? I loved a rule. I was the rule follower. I was the best rule follower you'll ever get. You know, like, you know, authority was God to me. That was my God. And I prided myself in the fact that I followed the rules and I didn't question, and I just did it. That was the biggest part of a mask for me. I've now realized, like, as you know, and you helped me see, like, that mask, that's so much energy putting on that mask, because actually I am a rebel. I don't like following the rules. I hate rules. I am built to be outside of the rules. I question everything. My nature, like every part of me, is just curiosity. And I want to question everything. So the way that I was living was completely a mask over me. No wonder I, you know, felt the way I felt, and things in my life like went the way they went, because that mask was keeping me from being who I didn't even know. I thought that mask was me. And I prided myself in it. And it wasn't until I started digging in and the mask started coming off that I was like, oh my God, I am completely the opposite. And that's again, going back to what you said in the beginning, to round this up, that's what's freeing. Yes. When that mask starts coming off, it's like, oh, this sense of expansion and freedom and the energy you get back, because you're not wasting your time, like going to a party and trying to fit in and make small talk, when you actually accept and realize, I hate small talk. I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to talk about your job. I want to talk about the deep stuff. I want a deep conversation, and that's okay. Yeah. And some people aren't down for that, and that's okay too, but there are people who are, and it's okay for me to go and find them and say that I don't like this and I like this, and it's all of that kind of, that's just one example.
I love that, but that's everything, isn't it?
Everything. And that's when your life, honestly, that's when your life starts changing, when you start realizing that magic things happen, synchronicities happen, people fall out of your life, people come into your life, and you're not looking for them, they just appear because you've changed your frequency, you've changed your vibration. And it all starts with, dropping that mask and allowing your authentic self to come through, and your frequency then will call in everything that resonates with your authenticity. My life and the people in it have completely changed. My conversations now, I can't remember the last time I had a surface level conversation. No. I cannot. Like, all my conversations with all the people around me are deep and meaningful and exciting and wondrous, and it allows me to, like, my mind to go down all that curiosity, because I finally accepted, like you said, I accepted who I am. I learned to love who I am, and I work every day to remind myself that it's okay to be me, it's good to be me, and I have to make mistakes to find out who I am. Like, every mistake helps me peel that mask off a little bit more and unleash that authentic me, and things only get better from that. I love it.
Love that, Tash. I think you summed it up beautifully there.
Oh, thank you.
And I feel that it's coming. I feel like we are all getting onto this now.
Agreed.
And like you said, these younger generation, these souls have come in literally to show us the way and help us remember. Because they're saying no.
Yes.
I'm not masking.
At an early age.
Yeah. Like my two are like, no, I don't follow rules.
No.
And you're like, what the heck? This is my worst nightmare. Like you said, we're good girls. We do everything we're told. And now they're giving me this child that's saying, no, I'm not wearing that. I'm not doing that.
And in this, and like you said, it's such a great mirror. They're great mirrors. So they're coming in to shake us up, to shake the whole of society up, to shake their parents up, and then,
makes sense, doesn't it?
Give them a slap around the face and say, look, here you go. I'm holding up a mirror to you. This is triggering you because this is what you need to look at in yourself.
You.
Exactly.
God, yes. And I mean, what a great way to wake society up.
Yeah.
And get us all upgraded in time for the new earth.
Exactly.
It all makes sense.
It does.
Because before all of the spiritual stuff, you're like, what is going on in the world, aren't you? Why, ADHD everywhere, autism everywhere, children can't go to school, what's going on? Yeah. But that, I mean, that's when things start making sense, isn't it?
Pay attention to your children. Pay attention to the younger souls, because they're a different breed to us, and they have come to change things up. They're not willing to go down to live the same way that we lived, and it's interesting because yes, we're here to guide them and help them, but actually they're going to be our biggest teachers as well, by highlighting that. So again, it's working together, and it's just watching where they trigger you, because that's for you, that trigger is for you.
And I've shifted that with my kids. Like, everyone's a teacher. I'm not here to dictate to them. Obviously we have to protect them and look after them, but they are also our teachers. So it's like getting that hierarchy thing gone, and we're all like, how you look at everybody just as a soul, not as they're better or they're worse or they're above you or below you. Everyone's a teacher, even your children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was not doing that. I was like, dictator. This is, you just fall in line with me. Wow. What an eye opener. When you can bust out of that. we're all working together, aren't we?
We are. We're all working together. We're all learning.
For the
And we're
greater
all
good.
doing our best.
We are.
We are all doing our best. And that's the most
Yeah.
important thing we have to remind ourselves.
Yeah.
So with that being said, everybody, start pulling that mask off. Claim your energy back. Realise where you are giving your energy away to upholding this mask to be a person that you think you need to be in order to fit in order to be liked, in order to be loved, in order to be not judged. You are awesome.
Yeah.
Like, we are all awesome, and we have all have our own awesomeness. And when you start questioning, just question everything you thought you knew, and that's going to be very enlightening for you. It's going to help you really take off that mask.
Yeah. Love it. Good luck, everybody.
And let us know how you get on. Let us know what masks you are wearing, like, because if you share, it might help other people identify their masks.
It really does.
It does, doesn't it? Right, so come on over to the Facebook group. We'll see you there. Otherwise, we will see you next time for another episode, probably with a guest. And take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.